Hey everybody, welcome back to Christian Penguin 1990. My name is Matthew again, and we're continuing with the creation versus evolutionism. Right now we're in the dating methods, and this one is rock strata dating. Now, before I get into this, I want to make it clear that this is not going to cover the fossil strata dating. That's going to be covered in full length in more detail in a much later video. This is just briefly going over the rock strata. There's three main dating methods today when it comes to the rock strata or stuff in the rocks that they'd use to date. There's the fossil bearing strata, which, like I said, we'll really cover in depth later, radioactive dating, and carbon 14 dating, which will also be covered by itself later on. Dating strata is based on circular reasoning. In other words, the rock layer is an age because of the fossil found in it. This fossil is a certain age because of the rock strata it was found in, which does happen. You can go to museums today and they'll literally have a display that says we know this fossil is this old because of this rock in it, and if you go another 20 feet they'll say we know that this rock is this old because this index fossil was found in it. That's circular reasoning. In other words, the fossil proves the rock proves the fossil, which is completely bogus. It doesn't work. In the 19th century, the dating theory or geologic column is strictly adhered to, and we've said over and over again, if you really look at it, the geologic column and all its dates, all its index fossils and everything was totally made up. There's nothing that they based it on. Lyell, which is heralded as the father of it, actually barely even left his own country before he wrote his books on principles of geology and so. And like I said, I did as much research as I could on Lyell, and I found that at most he might have went two places outside of his country, and then he decided, yep, that's how the whole world is. I'm going to write my book and say that the old Earth is actually millions of years old. And he based it off of only two other places besides his hometown, and really had no actual schooling in geology. He was just doing it as a hobby, and decided to make the books out of it. So a lot of people are basing their dates and everything off of a column made up by somebody who actually hardly went anywhere to back up his theory. But anyway, the misconception is that dating methods have successfully dated and established reliable dating and conjecture with the geologic column. This is not true. And like I said, excuse me, this is based on only three tests. And what I mean by that, before I get into this, is there was thousands upon thousands upon thousands of tests done with the dates, done with everything, and only three adhered to that geologic column, and so that's the three they went with. It was a test done in Colorado with the dates, the Bohemian dates, and the Swedish dates. Those were the only three that gave the dates they wanted that matched the column. Therefore, that's the ones they used, and they're saying, yes, we proved the column. Well, if you only have three dates that you're using, or from three areas that you're using the dates from, but you did hundreds of thousands of tests from around the world, that's not a success, guys. That's, an F if you go by school standards. If you took a test, which let's say it was only 100, and out of 100 tests, you only had three that gave the answers you wanted, and you said, yep, that's it, we passed. Well, you turned the test in, the teacher would, nope, that's an F, because you didn't get 100 out of 100. You only got 3 out of 100. That's a failing grade. So, in reality, that's bad. I mean, that's all it is. Let's see. Given, I still can't pronounce these guys' names. Knopf, Knopf. I think it's Knopf. It's either Knopf or Knopf. After thousands of failed test results, three and only three matched the dates they were looking for, like I just said, and that's the ones they kept. So they did thousands. Now, let's go back to the test example. Let's say you have 1,000 questions or 3,000 questions, final exam, ultimate exam, and out of all 3,000 questions, you got 3 right. Did you pass? No, you flunked miserably. But when it comes to this, they're saying we passed. No, you still flunked. You can't use them because unless you got it constant and constant and constant. Now, if it was, excuse me, reversed, where out of 3,000 tests you got 3 wrong, that's perfect. I wouldn't argue. But being that you only got 3 right out of thousands of tests, I don't agree with it because that's just wrong. That's bad science. Okay, examples that I was able to find doing some of the research. I'm only going to give three of them because there's tons of them. But three main ones that stuck out in my mind when I was doing all this is examples where different dates were given, trying to do different dating methods. In Sunset Crater in Arizona of a volcano, they did tree ring dating from the trees around it. They got 1,000 years old. That's not too bad. Most people, that's possible. Now, they did potassium-argon dating, 200,000 years old. Which one's right? You have tree rings dating from the trees around the same crater. They're all saying 1,000 years old. You do potassium-argon dating. Potassium-argon says, nope, it's 200,000 years old. Which one's right? That's a big gap. That is 199,000 year gap that you have to figure out. And they don't know which one to go with. Majority of them, if they don't know when it last erupted, will probably go with the potassium-argon. Some will even say, no, well, tree rings saying it's different. So you have varying dates. Another one is the, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, the Rangitoto. It's in New Zealand. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I don't want to massacre the name. But anyway. So they did potassium-argon dating there. And they had a big range too. It was 145,000 years to 456,000 years. Now that's a big error gap too. So I wouldn't use anything that has a big error gap. That's just me. A lot of people would, but I wouldn't. Now they carbon dated the wood in the area, only 350 years old. They did geologic and botanical dates from the whole area, 1,000 years old. So you got 350 years old to 1,000 years old. That one, that's a gap, but it's not as big. And then you have the potassium-argon, which is what they like to use. Why, I don't know, because we covered already that it's not a feasible one to use, but they use it. Potassium-argon gave you 145,000 years to 456,000 years. That's a huge error gap. So to me, the best thing to do for that island or that part of New Zealand, whatever they were testing it for, is the carbon dated wood and the geologic botanical, because it's a gap, but it's not as big of a gap. So you're probably going to get, you could probably take, okay, we got 350 years, we got 1,000 years. Let's combine them, divide by 2, probably, and then give a plus or minus error, and you're probably going to be closer than that. Okay, now the big one. And the reason I say big is because it was such a major event. Mount St. Helens lava, the lava dome, but the lava. And Mount St. Helens, everybody knows, erupted back in 1980. It did a lot of damage to the wood area and so on. But they decided, you know what, we're going to go up there and we're going to radiometric date the lava dome. We're going to see what dates we get out of it. Okay, now remember, this happened in 1980. These dates were taking, if I remember, I'm sorry I didn't write the date down, but I think they did these dates in the later 90s, early 2000s. It was somewhere in there. So they went up and they said, we're going to, show these dates work or whatever, and they tested it. Well, all the radiometric dating methods they used, they got that a lava flow that happened in 1980 was 2.8 million years old. Yeah, that's a major problem, because you just showed that the dating methods you used don't work. So a lot of them, they don't want to admit to this. They don't want to admit that this happened. They try to cover it up. Oh no, y'all are making this up. No, they actually did this and proved, yep, it doesn't work. So now there's confusion that does come about, like I said, with these dating methods, because the varying dates and so on. So here's a list of things. Number one, no rock in the world is a closed system. They try to say, oh, it's a closed system. Well, no, it's not. If I can go, let's say, somewhere they want to date something in the Arizona, or even in the woods out back or something, and they say, yep, that's a closed system. Well, I can go out there, take my Coca-Cola, and pour it on it. Is it closed? No, it's open, because I can sit there and pour Coke on it, and it'll change everything. I can dig down with a shovel. You have moles and ground animals and ground bacteria that are going all around it, changing stuff. It's not a closed system. It is an open system. So they tried to get by saying, "Yep, it's all an open, it's all a closed system." Sorry, I almost said open, but they try to say, "Nope, it's all a closed system." No, no, it's open. It is not closed. Everything from temperature to pressure to um, heavy rain waters and flood waters. Yes, it still floods around the world, and people digging for different things, like they're doing construction or whatever. It can vastly affect the changes, and yes, it is an open system. It is not closed. Number two, decay rates have been proven, but can have been different in the past. So, in other words, let's say the decay rate was faster in the past, and then something happened, and now they're slower, or let's say they were slower in the past and now they're faster. It's hard to tell which it is, but as I've already covered in my last video, scientists have shown decay rates were different back then. They could very well have been different back then. They're not the same. So that goes under the assumption that nope, everything's uniformitarian, nothing changes, and that's bogus. We all know everything changes. So to sit there and say that there's no way something could have affected these dates is ridiculous. Okay, that's like saying nothing's going to affect your child growing up. They're going to be the same no matter what, and their friends affect them, their teachers affect them, the parents definitely affect them, their grandparents affect them, their job affects them, their boss affects them, their coworkers affect. All these things affect them, and they're going to have different changes. They're not going to be the same as they grow up. So why would you assume that a rock, if millions of years have passed, nothing in millions of years changed it? That's ridiculous. Okay, number three. The daughter products could have been present in the beginning. We've covered this too. And what they're saying is the daughter product, like uranium lead, the daughter product would be the lead. They have found that lead could have been there as well as uranium in the very beginning, which would throw off the dates, because then they think that more uranium than what was there has decayed into lead when there's actually more lead than uranium at the time. So yeah, that's another problem. Number four, unknown changes in past environment could ruin the finely drawn assumptions. So in other words, if you sit here and today and they're trying to give all, I watched a documentary the other night. They're like, oh yes, this area had this. And I'm like, dude, you're trying to say that that was 60 million years ago, but you can tell me exactly what tree and plant life grew there. You weren't there. And they never said, well, we found fossils of the plant life. We found seeds of plant life. And by the way, this area was a city. There's nothing for them to go by. They're just guessing. But yet they'll come out and say, yep, this is how everything changed. And I'm like, dude, you have nothing to base what you're saying on. Not your facts, your guesses, your assumptions on. Because where you're pointing at, let's say, I'm trying to remember the city. It was out west. Dang it, what was the name of the city? It was in California. And it wasn't like San Francisco or something. It was further north up in California. Dang, I can't remember the name of the city. Oh. But anyway, they were showing, back millions of years ago with the dinosaurs and all that. I was like, well, wait a minute. How do you know? There's a city covering the whole area. There's nothing for you to go by. By the way, it was not Los Angeles either. I know a lot of people, because of the tar pits and so on, it probably Los Angeles. Well, no, it wasn't LA. I just can't remember the name of it. It's some offbeat name. But they're sitting there and they're telling people this, and you'll have people scoffing it up like a sponge. Wow, they know what they're talking about. No, they don't. They're assuming, they're guessing, and they're just spouting stuff off. No, if you have nothing that you can use to go by to, beyond a shadow of a doubt, prove what you're saying is a fact, you don't need to present it in a documentary or in a textbook. And that's what creationists are saying. That's all we're saying. We're not trying to say get rid of science. We're not against science. We are against lies, assumptions, and your own interpretations in textbooks being presented as a fact. That's what we're against. Okay. And same thing on the creation side. If I find out that a creationist wrote a textbook and he had, let's say, what would be a good example? No, I know. Satellite went around Mars and found a cross. And when I did research and I looked at the picture and everything, and I was like, wait a minute, that's a doctored picture. I would do everything I could to get that taken out of the Christian textbook because it's a lie. It doesn't need to be in there. And believe it or not, the Christian textbook place, if I showed them everything, they're like, I can't believe we fell for it. And they would immediately do a recall. They would immediately take that out of the book. Now let's go to the public school system. If I show them, hey, this example of evolution was proven a lie 100 years ago, gave them the scientist's name, gave them where you can look it up and everything, will they take it out? No, it'll still be sitting there. They will not take it out of the book. That's the difference. Okay, number 5. High energy particles, nearby radioactive minerals, or contact with chemicals will change the decay rates. That's been proven in scientific testing. I cover that pretty good in my last video. So I don't really need to go over that one too much. But number 6, earlier changes in the atmosphere could have greatly affected decay rates. And again, we talked about the Van Allen belt. I know I don't try to promote people, but when they're the ones that said it, I do need to say their names. Kent Hovind specifically, made the in what he calls the Hovind theory, where you had the water layer around the Earth. Well, what if the water layer was actually closer than where he thinks, and it was actually part of the Van Allen belt? And when the Van Allen belt, that water being part of the flood, came to Earth, that changed the makeup of the atmosphere because of that radioactive belt and everything. And now the decay rates are different. Therefore, you're getting vast ages when it's not really that old. So that's my personal theory. You can call it the Matthew theory. I don't care. But that's just my theory when that was actually part of the Van Allen belt and was not past that. Okay, number 7. Decay clocks didn't have to start at the beginning. So in other words, they're assuming that at the beginning of the Earth, not so much humanity, but at the beginning of the Earth and their timeline, which is like 4.6 billion years ago, that's when all the clocks started on Earth. And that's just an assumption. They have no idea. And so that's what that's saying is you're assuming. You have no proof behind it that that's when they started. You're assuming that's when they started. And there's no telling when. Like, for example, when does the carbon-14 decay clock start? When the organism is alive or when it dies? And they'll say, well, right when it dies is when it starts. Well, no, because carbon-14 carbon is being brought into the organism, and it has its decay rate, so it's being brought in and it's decaying at the same time while the organism is alive. It's just being replenished, so it's hardly noticeable. But yes, when the organism is alive, like right now, I'm the organism. I'm absorbing carbon, but I'm also getting rid of carbon at the same time because it's going to follow its half-life. And see, everybody will say, well, wait a minute, the half-life is 5,000 something odd years. I said, well, yeah, but there's things that can happen within our bodies, within outside, and so on, that can cause it to go faster, slower. And that's what I'm saying, that I might be getting rid of carbon and y'all not know it. So there are things that can change the decay rates. But they automatically assume that the carbon in the atmosphere is where it needs to be. It's never changed, which it has changed. They assume that the decay rate's the same, and they assume that everything starts at the beginning, which for carbon would be right when we die, and then they can start measuring the carbon. But they'll tell you right off the bat that if you come to them with, let's say, an organism that you want a carbon-14 dated, and you know it's only 5 years since it's died, but you take it to them, you're going to get a strange date. You're going to get thousands and thousands of years old. And when you tell them, oh yeah, by the way, this died 5 years ago, they'll say, well, that's why it didn't work. And no, the reason it didn't work is because now you know the actual date, and you just proved carbon-14 dating wrong. That's why they don't like it. Okay, number 8. Lead could originally have mixed with the uranium in the thorium, and I briefly said that earlier. The uranium to lead decay and the thorium to lead decay is what they go by in dating methods, and it has been proven again, like I said in my last video, that scientists have shown, yes, lead could have been there originally with the thorium and the uranium, and actually lead could have came from lead as a decay. They've proven that. So just assume that it all came from decay from thorium or uranium is wrong. Number 9, common lead 204 could have been mixed in. Like I said, scientists have shown that. It's ignored, but they've shown it. Number 10, leaching has easily and can easily occur in the specimens. Again, I cover that as when the lead moves around or moves in and out. The gas moves in and out, and so on. And like I said in a CNN interview, the guy that did the zircon crystals, he even made the comments multiple times where, oh yeah, you can see the lead moving inside the crystals. It's pretty cool. I was like, dude, you're just telling everybody it's leaching. And where he said you can see it moving inside, he actually saw him leave the crystal, and I was like, dude, that's leaching. That just told you you can't use it because it leached. Your dates are going to be off. So, all right, number 11. Lead ratio comparisons could be inaccurate because of regular lead being mixed in with lead from the decay and so on. And if they're just counting, okay, that's lead, and that's all they do, and they don't have a way of differentiating the two leads, which I know they should have a way, but the question is, do they? And a lot of times the answer will be no. They don't take the time because it's too exhausting. It takes too long. And let's say you have a specimen, and you start to look at it, it's like, wow, it's got probably 1 million lead things in there. Did you have to count along with uranium or thorium, whatever's in there? And you're like, I'm not going to sit there and try to differentiate that lead from this lead out of 1 million lead pieces. Okay, we're just going to count 1, 2, 3, and that's what they're going to do. I mean, it's human. You want to take the easy route. So yes, it is very possible that a lot of the lead ratio comparisons are wrong. Number 12, changes in the Van Allen belt can affect decay rates. I've already gone over that. 13, free neutrons could be captured from neighboring lead 206. Again, that's the radioactive elements being too close together, and they're capturing the neutrons from other elements, which will affect the decay rates. Is basically what that's going on. Number 14, if Earth had been molten, this would result in wide variations in clock settings. In other words, if it had actually been a molten mass, the clock settings would be varying among the thorium, the uranium, the carbon, and so on. There's so much that would affect the beginning of the clocks that you wouldn't be able to use them to begin with. Even by their standards, you wouldn't be able to use them because it's just they've gone over it, and scientists. Oh, by the way, scientists, like I've said before, can be a creationist and can be an evolutionist. All you have is differing worldviews. Other than that, you use the same equations, same problems, same biological system, and so on. You just have different views of how everything got here. That's it. So to sit there and say because somebody's a creationist, they can't be a real scientist is bogus, is bullcrap, and it's just a way to get you to not listen to creationists. That's all it is. Okay, number 15. Uranium, thorium, all other dating methods do not agree with each other. It has been shown time and again they disagree with each other. They cannot check each other, as many people come out, oh, they cross-check each other and they prove each other right. I was like, no, they don't. Everyone I've ever looked up, they don't. When they try to cross-check, they don't match up. You'll have one that'll say 1 million years. You have one that say 10 million years. Like the examples I gave where they try to say they used several dating methods, 2 to 3 dating methods in an area for cross-check, and not a single one of them matched exactly. They were off by several hundred years or hundreds of thousands of years. That's the big gaps. And to sit there and say, oh yeah, they cross-check each other. No, they don't. They never have. That's just what they like to accuse us of as creationists is that's your straw man argument. Oh yeah, they cross-check. Well, no, they don't. It's been proven time and again, none of the dating methods work. So you can't use them to cross-check. Number 16. Some of the daughter products are gas, which easily and very quickly migrate out of the rocks. Argon is one. Helium, unless it's crystallized and trapped inside of a crystal structure where there's no way for it to get out. Like in the zircons, which is why they like to use they look at the helium as a dating method in zircons, but they can't use it in just rock because it, like argon, it'll escape the rock very quickly. So like the moment you try to get into the rock to get to the argon gas or the helium gas, and you drill to it to try and siphon it out, it's gone because it does move out very quickly and so on. Okay, so that's gonna end my video on the rock strata dating and some of the problems with it. please come back and be here next time as we cover radiocarbon dating in the next video. I do apologize for not having posted in a while, but I've been busy with our vacation Bible school at church all week. As soon as I get done there, I come home and I just go straight to bed. It just tires me out. But the kids had a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it. It was definitely a lot of fun, and I'll hopefully be able to do it again next year. But apologize. But yeah, so that's the video for rock strata dating. Like I said, be here next time. We're going to go over radiocarbon dating in pretty good detail, and uh, I'll try and get the next videos up within 2 to 3 days if I can, depending on work and everything. But so be here next time for that, and until then, God bless. Hopefully you'll have a great week and weekend. May you be safe this weekend. It's going different areas of the country is going to be hot. Be sure to stay hydrated. Be sure to take some sunblock out with you. If you're going to the beach or something to keep from getting sunburned, I know I make that mistake a lot if I go to the beach or if I take my motorcycle out for a ride. I usually forget and I come back looking like a tomato. So, but yeah, definitely stay hydrated. Definitely use sun protection. Even if it's not raining, take an umbrella. If your sunblock wears off, and let's say your car is too far back up the beach, pop your umbrella open and use that to shade you until you can get to the car. But definitely stay hydrated. That's really, really important in these hot conditions. And just stay safe. May God, whether you believe or not, continue to bless you and give you happy and worry-free life. And hopefully I'll see you guys next time in our next video when we present the radiocarbon dating. Until then, God bless y'all and have a happy life. I'll see y'all then. Later.